Like I said, we don't care about that. Just say you're going to do that and fight us next or whatever you're going to do. Just the transparency is the problem. And if you don't say you want to fight us. Don't exercise your option to fight us if that's what you was going to do. I think at the time it wasn't there.
Do you think we get a rematch eventually, or just based on what he's been saying about maybe retirement and people observing that he might be a little checked out, that probably more than not we're not going to get it?
We checked him out. So if that's the case, we checked him out. And if he retired, retired. Wish him the best in his retired life. So I don't think we get it. Being realistic, but if we do, we'll see. We're not focused on it.
Lamont Roach Sr. hit the headlines this week when he audaciously declared that his son, Lamont Roach Jr., had technically retired Tank Davis.
You know what I'm saying? We can continue. We're not basing our career and legacy on him. We won. He need to get that back from us, whether they raised our hand or not. The whole world seen it. They seen the type of fighter we was. His competitive spirit should have wanted that. But if that's the way you feel to go fight that fight, more power to him. Make your money and do what you did, because nobody know what's going on in his brain, what he want to do. So.
Robert Garcia expressed his sincere anger following the career decisions of Gervonta Davis in recent times, citing the fact that Tank had failed to provide the fans with the type of match they expected from a fighter of his caliber. Garcia held the opinion that Davis would not take up the most challenging tasks, such as rematching Lamont Roach, which he considered just and deserved.
I think Tank never gave us the fights that we really wanted. Never really gave us those challenges. He never really challenged himself. He didn't give Roach that rematch, which he should have. Mayweather did it when he had a hard time with him.
Robert Garcia then went ahead to agree that though he could fault Gervonta Davis on his choice of not fighting more difficult opponents or giving Lamont Roach a second shot, he was not ignorant of the business aspect of boxing. Garcia confessed that with such a sum of money, tens of millions allegedly to get an exhibition fight against Jake Paul, anyone, he included, would probably do the same.
So Tank should have done the same. He didn't. That I could criticize. But then at the end also, if you're making 30 to 50 million, I don't even know what he's making to fight, to have an exhibition against just Jake Paul, I would have asked. I would do the same.
The move made by Davis to shift from conventional competition into a crossover mega fight was viewed positively and negatively by the boxing fraternity. It is considered by many purists, among them Roach Sr., to have been motivated by financial gain and not by competitive spirit. Lamont Roach did not curb his emotions after Tank refused to rematch. Roach, who believed that he had deserved another opportunity the first time they fought competitively, claimed that Davis made such a decision because he lacked competition spirit.
We're gonna get that rematch fight versus Gervonta after this fight.
Who knows? He said he's retiring. I believe him. I think he's scared. So if he's going to retire, I believe he's going to retire.
You think he'll retire after the exhibition match?
I think so.
Why do you say that?
Because he's scared.
Ryan Garcia did not restrain himself when questioned about the next Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis match. He termed the fight a disgrace to boxing and how the sport has gone back to its origin. Garcia explained that the fight appeared to be more of a social media event rather than a normal professional match.
Just disappointing on mainly Jake's end. We're not falling for the Disney Channel bit no more. We're not falling for you're not a fighter no more. We're not falling for that. You're ranked as a cruiserweight and you're out here trying to fight a lightweight. And then on top of it, you were just talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. That doesn't make no sense. And, I just felt like it was a disgrace to boxing and kind of it was not a good move by Jake Paul.
He stressed that real boxing was about competency, training, and heritage, and not viral content and pay-per-view tricks. Ryan was disappointed that Tank, an athlete with actual qualifications, had decided to venture into the entertainment avenue rather than seeking out challenging tasks and issues that would enhance the integrity of the sport.
I understand people saying, Gervonta got to go get his money, blah, blah, blah. But, we're not talking about that shit. We're talking about the sport, bro. We're not talking about, oh, you got to get that money, bro. Yeah, but everybody's open to criticism. That's the whole point of this media shit. That's why they talk about basketball players. They don't talk about, well, LeBron's making too much. Nobody cares, bro. If LeBron's missing the shot, he's missing the shot. So, at the end of the day, bro, I just thought it was a disgrace to the sport. Because on one end, you got the casuals, right? The casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're going to think Jake Paul is some pound-for-pound champion type of fighter.
Lamont Roach Sr. already confessed how the change of direction was abrupt after Gervonta had decided to turn his back on their possible rematch. He exposed the fact that Tank had moved out, and Roach had to find greatness elsewhere. He states that the team was resolute in pursuing a legacy of challenging itself to elite competition and still at a greater weight class.
Breached this contract and went in a different direction. So we, like you said, we want to be great. So we taking on the best, and the best is Isaac Pitbull Cruz, one of the best fighters out there at a different weight class. We're going to chase our legacy, and Lamont wants to be one of the greatest of all time. So what better way is to get in there at 140 and fight for a belt against a very talented champion in Isaac Pitbull Cruz.
Gervonta Davis, when addressing the growing buzz around that Lamont Roach rematch, put an end to the rumors that had been heating up after Roach's comments. Fans expected Tank to run it back after Roach called him out for ducking, but the Baltimore star made it clear he had other plans for now. Davis kept his composure but didn't mince words when shutting down the speculation.
Do you want that rematch next? And if so, how likely it is that we're to see that fight happen again this year?
I'm not sure, bro. I'm definitely not sure, but hopefully we could get it before. Nah, it probably won't be this year.
Is that the one you want next?
It's definitely the one I want next, but it's not gonna be next.
What is?
You might see it in a minute. You definitely might see it in a minute.
Lamont Roach Sr. subsequently made it clear that they were already past the case of Gervonta Davis. He clarified that whatever was there, it had been handled discreetly, and the team had then proceeded with concentration and a sense of confidence. The debate about the contract disagreement did not matter anymore to him. Their focus was now on the future and the process of further developing the legacy of Lamont within the ring.
That's right now, that's kind of like old news in a sense, you know what I'm saying? Like those matters were dealt with, and we're pretty happy with those outcomes, let's just say that.
All in all, Tank Davis has been shaping a legacy of being amongst the deadliest punchers in the sport over the past few years. To have him now ready to confront an internet celebrity was a cause of eyebrows up, but it also brought enormous publicity. A technical breakdown of the fighting rhythm of Gervonta Tank Davis was provided by Joe Rogan, who explained how the fighter baits his opponents into silence. It is a pressure that is created by the mere presence of Tank, according to Rogan, and it is a pressure of an invisible trap, though it is a trap, and it is the one that tightens as time goes by until it bursts out a man with speed and power known as Tank. It is not chaos, it is order and composedness.
And he's got ridiculous one-punch knockout power, too. He's just such an interesting fighter because his style is so different from everybody else. He's so conservative in the early rounds, throws so few punches, and he lets you work. He lets you work, and you're backing up, and you're always afraid of that power, and he's just moving in, trying to find that opening where he just gets in there on you.
While most analysts lean toward Davis's superior technical skill, some believe Jake's height, reach, and weight advantage will favor him in a longer fight. Oddsmakers have him at roughly plus 125 underdog for a win. Jake uses his physical tools to control the ring, avoids Tank's fight-ending shots, and outlasts him in rounds rather than relying on one big punch. Jake remarked, "I know how fast he is. I know how strong he is. I believe I'm stronger, more athletic. That's my advantage going into the fight. I'm locked in, fully focused." All this fuss at one place, but Raymond Ford had stepped in to help Jake Paul sharpen his tools ahead of the Gervonta Davis clash, giving the YouTuber turned boxer a taste of elite level southpaw movement. Ford's involvement added some real boxing IQ to Jake's camp, a major boost considering Tank's explosive counterpunching style. To Davis, who continues to be one of the most marketable fighters in the world, it is a chance not only to make a hefty amount of money, but also to make people remember that he continues to be a powerhouse within the ring. Robert Garcia presented his sincere response to the much-discussed Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis match, and his voice was unmistakable. He was not impressed. Garcia acknowledged that the match was not the most interesting to him as a sporting event. However, he also understood the business aspect of it.
I'm not very interested. that doesn't excite me. I know it's going to do really good numbers. I know they're making a lot of money, which is good for them, good for Tank, because in boxing that's what everybody looks for. I think it's, you know, the good thing is they announced it as an exhibition, which is, I'm okay with it, you know.
On his part, RT Jake Paul has been insistent in pursuing legitimacy. Years after being criticized for cherry-picking opponents, he finds himself opposite one of the most feared boxers. It is the kind of shop that would make him a new man as a novelty act or a real competitor. Host of the Wade Concept, Wade Plemons had his own insight into the impending conflict, admitting that Gervonta Davis was on an entirely new plane when skill was concerned. He told him that the timing, accuracy, and action of Tank were way ahead of what Jake Paul had demonstrated up to this stage.
I mean, I think everybody is under the same understanding that skill for skill, Jake Paul is not the same level of boxer as Tank Davis. It's not even remotely close when it comes to the skill of the sport. Now, what makes up for the difference in skill is Jake's massive size and Tank's lack thereof. Jake's power versus Tank's skill, experience, timing, speed, all of that. But Jake still has some stuff, right? He still can crack. He still, for his size, is a little quicker than people think. And he has a decent enough jab on him. But they see something, more than maybe something. They see a lot of things that they can take advantage of.
Meanwhile, Tank could not afford to rest, as Plemons cautioned him. He pointed out that it might be a fatal error to reject Jake based on the fact that he was not an elite performer. Confidence, he said, was good, but arrogance on a larger, hungrier man might be fatal. In case Davis underestimated Jake, Plemons thought that it would not only cost him the fight, but would also tarnish his reputation as one of the most talented boxers ever.
He had Gervonta on this, quote-unquote hit list for 4 years because he wanted to take the shine, the legacy. I'm better than he is. I'm a better boxer than Gervonta. I beat Mike Tyson. I'm on Mike Tyson's record. All that, right? That's what he wants to do. So, again, I will say, if you come in and take him lightly, he can not only ruin your night, he can ruin your legacy. And that's what you can't have happen if you're Gervonta Davis.
Eddie Hearn viewed the matter in a broad perspective, as he said that every fighter has his or her way. Others, he said, are legacy and gold fighters, others are payday fighters, and a few can make both. He also reminded the fans that boxing was not a one-size-fits-all game. Every man will determine what success means to him.
But everyone's entitled to their own decision, and everyone's entitled to do business their way. So not everyone's the same. But I do think there's, a lot of the people that criticise, given the option to make the decision, would find it very difficult to turn down that opportunity. That's the reality. But we can't, if being a true great is important to you, then you probably wouldn't take the fight, and you would rematch Roach, you would fight Shakur, you would step up, you would fight Teofimo, you would do all this kind of stuff. But only certain amount of people love boxing in that way. Shakur's one of them. I think given the opportunity, I don't think Shakur would really want to do it, if I'm honest. He might do it for 30 million or whatever, but he wants to go down as a great. Gervonta Davis will never go down as an all-time great. He doesn't have the consistency or the staying power to perform at that level consistently. I don't think he likes boxing anymore. He gets himself in trouble. He wants money. It's just, you've got to have a certain type of temperament where you can retire with 30 belts on the wall and you say, I'll go down as an all-time great.
Floyd Mayweather, some of them,
there you go. Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah. So, and Floyd loves money more than anything. But Floyd also cared about legacy.
Big time.
And that's why you have to respect him, because of the consistency that he showed over the years of living the life, right? And fighting at the highest level for so long.
Hearn next shifted to the purists, who live on danger and are eager to take every hard thing as it comes each year. He wondered whether Gervonta Davis had that fire to continue living in the grind, the never-ending training camp, weight loss, and dangerous rivals. To Hearn, the greatest thing was endurance, and not bursts of brilliance. It had nothing to do with appearing at the lights, but living the life.
At the end of the day, do we blame Tank? Not really, but I think he's just showing us where he's at. And I don't, again, people can sit behind an Instagram or a keyboard and criticise people's decisions. But let's just be honest about it. Given the opportunity, what would you really do? And I don't know Gervonta's financial situation, and I'd like to think he's got money. I mean, he's made a lot of money, but if he spent it and if he's made some bad decisions, he might be looking at it and going, you know what? I run this little exhibition, I'm good for life. My kids are good for life. This really sets me up to live a perfect life forever. So I'm going to do it. And by the way, maybe after that I'll come back and fight Lamont Roach. I don't think so.
I don't think
because
so.
I don't think he's going to have the appetite to fight. See Lamont Roach, he'll be a hungry f***er. Lamont Roach will just be thinking, I want to beat Gervonta, become a 2-time world champion, 2-division world champion. That's important to me. I don't know Lamont Roach, but I get the feeling he's from that same school. Shakur and like these guys, that they care about belts, they care about legacy.
In the new training videos, Paul looks leaner, sharper, and more disciplined than ever. His team, consisting of ex-world champions and the best coaches, is not making shortcuts. Paul knows that winning Tank Davis, even in a situation where the size factor works in his favor, would permanently transform the way the world regards him. It would be his real entry as a player in the world of combat sports.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Chael Sonnen, who analyzed the recent face-off between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul with his trademark sharp eye for body language. He pointed out that Tank appeared unusually tense during the stare-down, his expression tight, his posture slightly rigid. Sonnen suggested that it wasn't nerves from the occasion, but rather the physical presence of Jake Paul that unsettled him.
Tank looked very uncomfortable facing off. He just did. I've seen other face-off this Tank done. He gets in their face and they're intense and he looks good. He looked very meager up there. You've had 8 fights and you're gonna go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. There is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious moment for Jake. But where the compliment comes is it means the public believes he's gonna win. That's what it means.
Shakur Stevenson weighed in on the fight, acknowledging the huge size difference but still backing Tank's superior boxing IQ and timing. He believes Davis will manage the bout with skill and discipline rather than raw power. This suggests Stevenson predicts a methodical and decisive win for Davis. Not flashy, but dominant nonetheless. He claimed, size will play some part in the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna try and go out there and outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. I can see Tank outboxing him and making it look really easy. I don't see Tank knocking Jake out. Jake Paul is a representative of the new spectacle, a fighter, an entertainer who attracts millions of casual fans to each of his events. And their collision is not only a fight, but also a crossover of cultures, a collision of the two distinct worlds that ensures record-breaking numbers. In the case of Jake Paul, the challenge will start way before the first bell. It will start with discipline that will hold even when the exhaustion and nerves get going. Instinct prevails once the adrenaline has passed, and breathing becomes hard. That is why all of the habits of the training should be acute and automatic, getting the hands back, the head off the center line, and feet waving to pivot in a moment.
What we want to see, we don't know his performance of this fight. You know, Tank been talking this way, and I understand that why he's talking that way. He's been doing it for so long. You know, if you work a regular job, you've been doing it so long, and you see it's like you want to get bored. So this fight might wake him up. You know what I'm saying? This fight might bring that beast back. You always talk about, I don't want to do certain things because I need my beast to be in me, you know, and being around him, he's at a good place right now.
Coach Calvin Ford did not dispel the hype. He concentrated on the fundamentals, respect for danger, and preparation for counterfire. He warned Jake that he cannot rely on Tank to surprise him. Rather, he had to be ready to face retaliation right after any interaction. It means canceling every sort of combination, getting off the line, and never pausing to survey his work. Provided that Jake continues pushing Tank to reset, he will be able to maintain the rhythm to his rules.
But you know me, I don't believe in knockouts, I believe in punishment. This a big tall glass of work. You know, if Tank put in the work that I believe that he's been doing for so many years, man, it's gonna have people really thinking like, you know what I'm saying? Because I know Jake is coming to fight. I just know it. You know what I'm saying? He have this thing in his head. He's seen what Roach did to him. You know what I'm saying? But it's things that I know that he don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be an interesting night that night.
It is the largest payday of the career of Tank Davis financially. It is claimed that the bag and pay-per-view share might be higher than anything that he can earn in regular bouts, including his high-profile fights under Mayweather Promotions. Terrence Crawford offered a more surprising take, pointing toward Paul's size and power as the wild card in this matchup. He emphasized that Davis is technically elite, but the difference in weight could lead to Paul landing a fight-changing shot. According to Crawford, if Paul connects with that one punch, history changes in a flash, and that makes him lean toward upset territory. He said, "Honestly, I think Jake wins by youth. Jake's just too big. Jake could land one good punch on Tan, and it's over with." That being said, and now that Gervonta Davis has officially canceled the rematch with Lamont Roach, the question now burns even more fiercely than ever before. Who exactly is next to Tank? And is he pursuing a legacy fight, a mega payday, or a statement performance that shuts down all the critics? No matter what the strategy is, this much is certain. When Davis gets out of the spotlight, the entire sport, as they say, halts to stare. In case you're driving with Tank or even Roach needs another degree, comment below. Don't leave without hitting like, subscribing, and turning on notifications, because the next announcement could be the one to simply transform the lightweight landscape.